Thank you very much, and thank you for all of you who took the opportunity during the break to let me know what kind of retailers you want us to bring to Columbia Center. Okay, I'm just going to put it out there because every one of them I have a good answer for, but one of the big ones we've been after is Apple. Everybody says, why don't you have an Apple store? Okay, here's the big clue. We don't have an Apple store because Apple looked at this market and there are not enough Apple accounts in this market. So I'm going to ask all you DOE people who are using BlackBerries, get rid of them. Let's convert. Come on, convert. This will be an easy sell if you'll all just get off your black crackberries and go to an Apple iPhone and get it and establish an Apple account, and I think we can make that stick. Someone else asked about Panera Bread. We've been actively after Panera Bread as well. And let me just tell you that as soon as they put a bakery on the east side of the mountains, Panera Bread will be certainly in town. So just a couple of little tidbits, but crackberries, let's get rid of them, okay? Well, as we look ahead to all of the promise of 2013, we must take a moment to reflect on 2012, which proved, I think as somebody said earlier, to be a very interesting year. Retail nationally still is crawling back from the tough years of the recession, but as you know, in the Tri-Cities, we have not had that recession here. We have repeatedly had wonderful growth in retail over the last 4 to 5 years. Not that we didn't have it last year, but it just wasn't the same as what we had in the last 5 years. But don't cry for us, Argentina, yet. Let us start with the sales tax distributions that we have seen the state for each of the cities. You can see up there where each city lands in terms of what they get from the sales tax distribution every year. It is certainly a year that we saw where if you go to the next slide, now this is not an indication that the sales tax went down or the distributions went down. They just didn't, where we have had sales tax increases of say 10 to 12% over the last several years. Last year the increases were not quite as big. And you can see city of these are indications of what they received over the years prior. So in 2012, city of Kennewick got 1.5% over what they got in 2011. Okay, so don't think that the sales that the actual sales went down that much. That's just what they got over 2011. And again, I think you heard some of the reasons why. We had over 1,200 layoffs out at Hanford. We've also had obviously some difference tourism, the end of the $2 billion of additional revenue that we've gotten. So you can see some of the cities took a little harder who were closer to Hanford, city of Richland and city of West Richland. But again, this is over what they received in 2011 and prior to that, where we were getting all the economic stimulus. But again, as I said, don't think that that means that the actual sales were down. They were not. In Tri-Cities, I would say the sales for the overall Tri-Cities last year was up probably more like 8% versus in years past where it's been more like 12 to 15%. How did we do overall in the state and the and other areas? As you can see, some of the other counties are starting to come back where they have been in the last couple years at double-digit or single-digit reductions in terms of their sales tax. Their sales tax distributions are now coming back to a more general level. And as you see, Benton County was a little down. A lot of that has to do with the VIT plant being pretty much on a standby all last year. Franklin County was flat. Spokane County up a little bit. Walla Walla County had a great increase over their last year and then Yakima County was up 5.3%. We talk about what's going on in the market. I think you're seeing changing retail strategies. Obviously, I will point to one of the biggest changing retail strategy was JCPenney's last year, where they decided to reinvent what they were doing. Now, did their customer like it? No. Is it a short-term plan? No. It's a 5-year plan that they're going to have to educate their customer how they do business. Instead of having sale, waiting every week for a sale, they have now, maintained their price point at a one level so that when you go in there, you're always going to understand what that price of that good is. Their customer didn't like it. They were used to using their coupons. They were used to getting their sale flyer, but they're starting to come around after the first year. But boy, I would not have wanted to be the CEO of Penny's last year. The rising price of consumer goods, we continue to see that obviously across the nation. That has also impacted the Tri-Cities. As well as into now 2013, you have also seen once again the wages have gone up. So that impacts especially restaurants and retail where the margins are a little bit less. So that does have an impact on us as well. New growth. Finally, we are starting to see some of these national chains start to look again at opening new stores in markets. Most of them are looking at secondary markets because they have already obviously penetrated primary markets, but they've also closed a lot of stores in primary markets. So where those markets are now starting to come back, they are starting to look at reopening stores. But a lot of the big cities had huge vacancy opportunities. So it gave other retailers an opportunity to step into those areas and find good retail, places to put good retail. In the Tri-Cities, we haven't had that so much, and I know if you look at the mall, we have not had that. We've obviously kept our occupancy up very high, which is good, but it also lends itself for us not to be able to bring in as many new stores because we don't have as much vacancy as some of the other cities have. In 2013, I think you will still see closing of underperforming stores. I will look to Sears as one of those big giant retailers that is obviously evaluating their portfolio. They will continue to be closing underperforming stores, as will several other national chains. The customer is asking for more value and quality, and retailers have got to find a way to continue to do that, even though the margins aren't as good. And you have a very discerning and demanding customer. So you have to find ways as a retailer to reinvent yourself in order to make sure you are meeting the customer's expectations and what they what they're seeing all over on the internet. Some of the top categories last year, I'm sure you saw as of recent, automobiles, car sales up tremendously in 2012. A lot of that has to do with a financing mechanism right now. You can go out and pretty much, finance a car at 0 or 1.9%. So people are taking advantage of those opportunities. Last year, there was a phenomenal amount of new movies that brought people back into the theaters to show, to see those movies on, and as you saw, we had a huge increase in theater traffic last year. Convenience stores and grocery stores, well, let's see, what did we do last year? Oh, we let them sell alcohol. So, guess where everybody went? And Costco. Home entertainment and electronics, as I said, that is still everybody wants their smartphone, their tablet, their iPad, their iPad mini, still a huge area of growth that we continue to see. And family apparel is still an area where we see high growth. Some of the bottom categories, and this is mainly in the Tri-Cities area that we saw last year because I was reading some national news stuff, and books were up in the in the national market. In the Tri-Cities area, the big bookstores and stuff were down, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that, you know, the Tri-Cities is a very technologically motivated community. A lot of downloading going on versus actually going and buying the books in the big bookstores. And I look at this 5 years down the road, and I ask, you know, we are looking at the fact is, will there be the big box bookstores around 5 years from now? Somewhat like we saw the record stores and the video stores. They're no longer around. Borders actually closed all of their stores. So, you know, you have to wonder if 5 years from now, if these 25,000 square foot big box bookstores will still be around. Not that there's not a need for them, but they're probably going to go the way of also Best Buy, who is same thing. They have 50,000 square foot showrooms. They are now downsizing those and putting in smaller stores because they don't need, people are buying online. People are basically using their store as a place to go test whatever they want to see, and then they turn around and buy it online or buy it at Costco. So you will start to see some of these big box electronic stores start to downsize, and we saw that this year. Best Buy Mobile has now put a store in Columbia Center, and so that's an indication that that's their strategy going forward. Health and personal care, general merchandise, and construction. Also, I think you heard construction a little down last year overall in the Tri-Cities. This is always the fun thing. Okay, all you PNNL researchers out there, I'm giving you opportunities to figure out where you can make a difference in the world with the retail trends to watch. So the first one is health and wellness, and this is a category that's booming, and it's poised to become even bigger every year because we obviously are seeing the aging population, and so people are looking at items that fit their needs in this area, ranging from anti-stress drinks, organic skincare, natural products, wellness products are really at the top of the list, and most retailers are looking for those products that they can produce that will meet that customer need. Automobiles, as I said, automobiles had a great year last year, but you're going to see, look at this car. Now look at that. It's a battery-operated car. I mean, does that look nice? I'd drive that until I saw the price of it, but they're coming down. This little car right here is like $65,000, but you know, you will see the automobile industry continue to move forward to bring more hybrid, more electric vehicles with gas. You know, now almost all the time being up over $3 a gallon. They're going to really do more to attract customers that will end up buying hybrids or electric. And I know PNNL is working on that strategy with their batteries, and I hope to one day be a mall that you can come and plug your car into. So you'll see the prices are dropping on those vehicles as well, and so consumers are going to really take to those also. Robotics. Okay, robotics are just plain cool. I mean, everybody wants a vacuum cleaner that you can sit there on your couch and eat your bonbons and watch your vacuum cleaner go around and right, ladies? I mean, why should we have to push that thing when you can just push a button and the little Roomba robot does it all for you? Also, I saw the other day, there was a great, if any of you saw 60 Minutes, robots, healthcare. I mean, they are putting them in hospitals, fulfillment centers like Amazon or some of these clothing warehouses where the robots are going all around the entire warehouse and picking up the goods and services or goods and bringing them to the person who then packages them. And I mean, unfortunately for the American worker, that's not a good thing. But for the for that sector of the market, you don't have to worry about downtime. You don't have to worry about sick people. The robots are very smart. They do exactly what they're told. You get where I'm going with this, right? Baby boomer products. These will again continue to be a fast-growing category as the first wave of baby boomers that are turning 60 will be in the tens of millions. And this group continues to demand more relevant products and that will keep them looking and feeling young. And I'm talking about technology products such as gadgets and brain games and fitness items. How many of you all have play words with friends all day long just to keep your, mental things going on? I know I do. Not all day, but sometime during lunch. Video game applications. Again, this is an area with the youth that is growing, but is also growing with adults who like to download games right on their phones. And obviously, when you're traveling or if you're doing something else and you want to occupy yourself, you'll have that ability. I know now my poor travel agent friend just hates me because I have every single travel app on my iPhone that wherever I'm at, I can just see exactly if I need a hotel, if I need a car. Wayne and I were in Hawaii and by ourselves, and I said, let's just get there and do what we have to do on our iPhones. And we downloaded and got a car, and we got a first-class hotel for probably half of what people who had booked it in advance. But we were, we could do that. I would not recommend that if you're taking a family of 5 over there, but if a couple of you and you have that flexibility, you can get some really good value on that. Solar products. Again, if you haven't seen them, solar products are going to are coming the wave of the future. Watches, cell phone chargers. Consumers are reacting to these favorably. If you've seen at Costco, they have a gentleman there that's often there that you can buy a cell phone charger that's solar. Or if you're like my husband, I bought him one who's out in the woods hiking. I don't have to worry about his cell phone if he can get to, of course, sun. But we live in 365 days, right? Where's the visitor? Oh, there's Chris in the back. She loves that, 365. Is that more than that? Oh, she's going like this. And finally, consumer electronics. As I said, consumer electronics will continue to lead some of the innovation that you will see, and that will be part of the top retail trends for next year. Aisha, she said she wasn't going to forecast. All right, well, I'm going to forecast. I look into my crystal ball every year. I'm always sitting back there and I'm like, what is Aisha going to say? Because if Aisha says something really it's going to totally make me look bad, but I'm on task with you this year, okay? I'm going to say that you're going to look for retail sales to drop in the Tri-Cities over the first and second quarters of this year, and primarily for 2 reasons. But there will be good news, okay? So you're just going to have a slower first and second quarter. Obviously, we've had some things that have happened. We had the rollback of the 2% payroll tax holiday that was implemented in 2009, and actually it was put in place to stimulate the economy, but that has now rolled back as of January 1. So each of you are probably seeing in your paychecks anywhere from $18 to $20 less, which for a family of 4 makes about $1,000 a year difference. So the reality of that probably hit in the first paychecks of 2013. I know I had several of my staff come to me and say, hey, my pay went down even though I got a raise. Well, yeah, it did. Sorry. But I didn't have anything to do with that. The government did. Consumers will gradually be used to these smaller paychecks, however, and I think that they'll overall, you'll see that retail sales will start to pick up in the second quarter. The other thing that I think is kind of impacting January, February is usually by now you are able to file your tax returns. This year, because of all the tax changes, the first tax filings will not happen until January 30th, so people do not have that discretionary money back into their bank accounts, where we normally see some really robust sales in the month of January. A little softer this month because of the fact that I think people have not been able to file their tax returns. Obviously, that's going to change in February once people can file those tax returns. But I think that overall, the Tri-Cities, we have been so blessed over the last couple of years with, sales increases of anywhere from 12 to 15%. And now we're going to find, I'm not going to say the new normal is flat. It's not. The new normal is 5%. Okay, so I'm gonna forecast 5% for the Tri-Cities sales growth over 2012, which I think was around 6 to 8%, and we're still in a great position here in the Tri-Cities. So, with that, thank you very much. Shop the mall and shop the Tri-Cities.